Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ask Dr. Be Good show, the show where we bring you the politics, the pedagogy, and the practices going on in public education. Ooh, it's been a long holiday break, and I actually took a break for the first time in 3+ years that I've been podcasting and doing radio, and actually did not record a show for, was it 2 or 3 weeks? I've lost track now. And I will tell you that I'm like a kid in a candy store right now with more pub ed news than I know what to do with. The holidays came, but pub ed news did not take a break. And that's because of, unfortunately, in some cases, COVID was the driving factor. COVID has caused just uncertainty still in our schools, our universities. We still have schools that decided not to open up the first few days. We have schools that are close to closing because so many kids are sick with COVID, or staff. They can't get enough staff. That has just been a real major concern. And so, welcome to 2022, where we hope to finish the year with grace, but there are lots and lots of things that will have to be adjusted. One of the things, for example, is, and I was in a SUIT meeting this week with superintendents who are so concerned about their attendance. And at least in the state of Texas is not saying they're going to hold harmless school districts for lower attendance this year yet. The hope is that as districts continue to struggle with attendance due to COVID, that, maybe by the end of the year, first part of summer, when they re-examine the data, that they will let 21-22 school year also be a hold harmless year. And what that means is that the Texas Education Agency would look at the attendance from last year or the year before and look at why, what the attendance reasons were this year. And if it were primarily COVID related, then they would pay the school district a reasonable amount, let's say 96, 97%, as opposed to the 91 that they're getting, or even 89. I'm hearing some really low attendance rates in schools right now. And it's scary because, as some of you remember my saying, that the only way a school district makes money is if you have, it used to be butts and seats, and it still is, except when you're remote learning, right? And so then other formulas kick in. It's just very confusing times. And school districts are hoping that they have another year of being able to get funds to run the school district, despite the fact that maybe the kids weren't there as much as the previous year or 2019 before COVID started, all of that. Ooh, what, just so much going on. Interesting news this week also in the Dallas area is that Dr. Hinojosa has put in his resignation from Dallas ISD. He is 65. He has run Dallas ISD. This is his second time back for the last 6 years. He's done some great things there. And he may decide that it's just time to play with the grandkids, which I would commend him for. But I had the fortune of working with him when I was in Dallas in his superintendent's learning community, and we managed to get every school, all middle school and high schools that we were working with, off the bad list during the 3.5 years that we were in that learning community under his tutelage, because we would meet with him every 2 weeks. We would have to go and sort of say where we were on the state of the schools that we were in charge of. And so it worked. That strategy that he had us do actually did work. And so, great man. And I hope that he is staying in the area and that he will continue to mentor and help school districts, especially large school districts, that's his specialty, in getting better. So, gosh, where to even start? This last couple of weeks, I have been on the radio and TV stations around the country, and a couple of different topics. The first 2 weeks ago, the radio hosts, TV hosts were asking me about Bill Bennett, ex-education secretary, about his comments. And his comments had to do with the fact that he felt like school districts that went to remote learning were hurting kids. I mean, he said it was the worst thing that could be done, and that he sort of berated school districts that did that. I think it's unfair. I think he's absolutely right in the sense of kids need to be in school. The data are showing that we know that now. Kids, for the most part, and there's a small anomaly of kids, but for the most part, kids do better when they learn at school. And there's social emotional impact things, and kids needing to be around their peers, and they feel less depression, less suicide ideation, all of that. Ironically enough, when they're in school, they think they hate school, but then when there's no school, they get very depressed and want to hurt themselves. So it's sort of an interesting dichotomy. But what he is saying is that we absolutely should demand that school districts do not go to remote learning as an alternative to COVID absences. I think that what I take umbrage with him is the way he said it. He made it sound like school districts are doing that to hurt kids on purpose. They're not. School districts are victims in this as much as the kids are, in the sense of still trying to figure out what the right methods are with all the wonky politics and science that's hitting them from all sides. And some are doing it better than others. And, let's make sure the data information is out there, and we get that to school districts with the understanding that we should absolutely try not to go to remote learning unless, there's nobody left to teach or something. But this thing, for example, in Chicago 2 weeks ago, where the union voted to not open school after winter break, even though the school district wanted to have school, the mayor wanted to have school, the governor wanted to have school, the union was the one who said, nope, we're not doing it. And so what the issue was there is that the union felt that the school district was not doing enough from a safety standpoint, hygiene, and so forth in the schools to make it safe for their teachers. The school district felt like it had done and would continue to do a lot of safety precautions, and that school was ready to receive kids and teachers. It was only a week. I think the union got pretty battered, and they just announced this week that they would be returning to school. So that was probably not a politically smart power move that the union did, but that's what you have. You have a lot of crazy thinking going on, some power play, some politicking back and forth, making things political that shouldn't be. So things are just still, topsy-turvy out there in our poor public ed world. And of course, the kids are the ones that end up suffering, and the kids from poverty, second language, they are the ones who are suffering the most. They just are. This week, I was on several radio stations because they wanted to know about the impact that COVID is having on college kids. And so that was an interesting thing for me to research. So let's talk about that. For nearly a year, college students across the nation have navigated the roller coaster of unexpected changes and shifts in learning and living situations under COVID. New research from Hobson's and Hanover Research notes that it's more important than ever for higher ed leaders to deepen their understanding of the challenges college students face so that they can step into and get help when needed. While many college students felt supported to some extent, others have pointed ways that their instructors and institutions can improve. And so in addition to presenting key findings about the reality of college life today and challenges students face now and in the future, the report also demonstrates how the results have long-term implications for higher ed leaders, faculty, and anyone with a role in student success. So let's see. 4 ways that COVID has impacted college students. The pandemic is negatively impacting college academic success. Students report decreased focus, engagement, and impact on their overall learning experience. 71% say they struggle to stay focused on schoolwork, and 52% say they struggle to complete coursework. What's more, 40% struggle even to attend class, whether online or, and they're battered like almost more frequently than our K-12s in the sense of being shut down. Many major colleges have said that they aren't opening the first few weeks of this semester, that they will go to online. Just talked to a parent today who told me that her daughter, who is a senior, she has a year left. It's just revolting and saying, if my college, and it's a 4-year college, says they're going to go online, then I'm quitting. She's a dance major. And of course, you can imagine dance majors that who have to do online work find it very difficult because their major is so physical. Matter of fact, the mom told me that last year she had to film her daughter dancing in the street as the final exam, because that was the biggest space they could find while the college was shut down and doing online learning. So I chatted with that mom a little bit about helping her daughter, finding the right words to help her daughter persevere. We talked about the fact that it is known that kids who graduate from college live on average 7 years longer than kids who do not have, than people who do not have a college degree. And you say, what? That was a statistic that I learned last year. Matter of fact, I read it at the high school graduation ceremony that I did last year. And here's why. Because kids who graduate with a college degree, or people, I should say really people, adults who graduate with a college degree, usually get better jobs that normally offer benefits, medical insurance. And so when you have medical insurance, you tend to tap into that when you're sick. You get healthier faster, and on average, you live 7 years longer than somebody who does not have a college degree and who did not have medical benefits as part of their work environment. So again, the Ask Doctor Be Good, always there with hopefully some solutions to some of these issues that are popping up. So let's see, students' well-being is suffering. 2/3 of all surveyed students said COVID-19 has somewhat negatively or very negatively impacted their mental health. Students are facing new stresses and mental health challenges, and 1/3 of students have trouble paying for food, housing, and school. And, jobs have shut down, restaurants have shut down. A lot of things have happened because of COVID, where those support jobs that a lot of college kids tend to get have been impacted and limited. Students are more concerned about their future than before COVID-19. Interesting, they're more concerned about their future. And 19% of surveyed students said they were seriously considering not attending college next semester. And 78% of those students cited COVID-19 as the primary driver. 2/3 of students are worried about finding a job after they graduate, and 49% are more worried about their job prospects than before COVID. So, and of course, that when you worry, it leads to depression and it leads to anxiety and all of that. Right? Then it's just students aren't getting the support they need. Students aren't taking advantage of resources from their institution, but they're most likely to turn to faculty and advisors for help. Almost all surveyed students know how to access academic resources, but markedly smaller number know how to access mental health and career services through their university. Interesting. So, very definitely the pandemic has had an impact on our college students because of the topsy-turvy way that, they're having to go online instead of face-to-face. And imagine the resentment that college-paying parents have. They're paying for the full experience, even if the kids are remote. And this parent told me that her daughter had mentioned that the online experience is not only less academic, but there's a lot of cheating that's going on. And so she was just really disgusted and said, if they go to online again, I'm just quitting. Well, no, let's see it through. All right. So while I'm thinking about college, because it's that time of the year, you are looking, beginning of the year, you're looking at finances. Hopefully you're looking at new budget for the year. Have you thought about the Texas Tomorrow plan or whatever college plan savings that you have for your kids? It is really important that you think about the financial implications for your kids when it comes to college. And if you can start when they're early and do something like these college savings plans, the Texas Tomorrow Fund in Texas, for example, will lock in the price of college today that you're paying for today for when they're 18 in however many years that is. If you start when the baby's 1, then you're getting prices from 17 years before. And you know the way college prices are going up, they're always going up. And so making your money work for you and your child, so where they don't have all of that financial debt, right? Student debt. Ugh. And so lots of opportunity to help your kids with financial literacy through modeling smart financial moves yourself. And if you want to know more, just Google. I mean, it is that easy to find college saving plans for my state, because most states have that. All right. So as you know, somebody write in the chat if you don't know anyone right now who isn't sick with COVID. Everybody I know has a family or loved one, friend with COVID. We just got word this week that our granddaughter and her other grandmother have COVID. They're living in the same house. It's almost like a tornado. And so get this, in my son's house, son, daughter-in-law, her mother, who lives with them and watches the kids during the week, 14-year-old granddaughter, 5-year-old grandson, 5 people in the house. And out of the 5, the 14-year-old daughter and the other grandmother tested positive, and the others did not. That's just amazing. They're all, and it's, it's not a humongous house where everybody can spatial distance every second of the, right? A kitchen, everybody has to go to the kitchen sometime. And so anyway, that's just amazing. And of course, that's just a drop in the bucket. I know so many people who are asking for prayers on Facebook for their family, for themselves, because of COVID. And because of that, I thought this article would be particularly crucial. I didn't know until I read it, and I'm hoping, and I'm guessing that some of you don't know this, but there are actually calculators that will help mitigate the risk a little bit. Let me see. This is a COVID risk calculator, which can be found on the internet. And this is Canada's National Institute on Aging. There's others. Again, there's several out there, but let's talk about what they do. So this is an example of David Lee wanted to get together with his parents, and so he and his family took COVID-19 precautions. They isolated themselves a few days before a meeting. His parents, who are more vulnerable because of their age, got vaccine booster shot, as did Mr. Lee, who's 43. His children, ages 8 and 10, got their first vaccine shot, and they all took rapid tests leading up to the meeting with Mr. Lee's parents. With all the different things added together, it felt like a relatively safe gamble to gather for the holidays. Still, though, he wanted to be extra sure. So the week before the meeting, he used a COVID risk calculator that he found on the internet. This one was, like I said, created by Canada's National Institute for Aging, and it asked him questions such as how many people would be at the gathering, how old everybody is, and whether everyone had been fully vaccinated. He plugged in additional information about where they would be meeting, indoors, outdoors, and what they would be doing, talking, eating, singing, hugging. The calculator incorporated information about COVID rates and community spread in that area where the gathering would take place, and then assessed his risk of being exposed to COVID-19 at the event. And Mr. Lee was relieved that the answer was low. If there was a red flag, it would have at least given us a pause. The tool is about understanding the risk and about having a third-party arbiter saying, maybe this isn't a good idea. COVID risk assessment calculators are a recent weapon in people's quest to go about their daily lives. while staying safe. Universities, governments, and nonprofits have created different versions to help people assess their particular situations. The one Mr. Lee used was created by a process named the Delphi method, which is a group of 20 experts, including infectious disease specialists and an epidemiologist, and they rated risky behavior like eating inside, for example, on a scale of 0 to 10. Their responses were aggregated to assign a score to each behavior a user reports, perhaps like hugging an unvaccinated person. The team revises the calculator every 3 months as they get new information about what what constitutes risky behavior and different behaviors that can add to or mitigate risk. Like they recently added rapid testing, for example. Calculators vary slightly. Some assess your risk of contracting COVID at a particular gathering. Other calculators measure the likelihood of someone arriving with the virus to your event rather than your chance of catching it, or how likely you are to get COVID in an indoor site like a grocery store or hair salon. Unlike them, because they provide an objective way to check users like them because they provide an objective way to check or justify their decisions. Every scenario is different, said Dr. Samir Siha, the director for geriatrics at the Sinai Health System and University Health Network, who created the tool Mr. Lee used. It's about like being able to call Dr. Fauci and say, you know, Tony, I'm going to go to this event and here's the situation. What do you think? The calculators can ease anxiety in different ways. For example, Kelly Guillemette, 52, a retiree who lives in Toronto, found out that events she thought were high risk actually weren't. The app made me say, well, maybe maybe I'm causing myself excess anxiety in my own head. I was really, really having a hard time trusting the outside world. So some people have even incorporated these into their everyday lives. I am using it for every decision I have to make when I leave the house, said Allison Bergstrom, 44, who lives in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and is getting a master's degree in data science and analytics. She uses a calculator created by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, that assesses the risk of being with other people inside. So before Thanksgiving, she used the calculator to assess her risk in going to Costco, to consider how big the store is, how many people will be there, are people going to be wearing masks, are people going to be eating samples. I changed my entire schedule around it when the risk said it was high. I went Monday morning as soon as they opened, so it was less busy and I can get in and out. So she also crunched numbers before going to a hair appointment. The app asked how many people would be there and what they would be doing. And I realized that people would be talking loudly because the hair dryers would be on, and it showed the risk was quite significant. So I decided not to do it. So here they also have a risk calculator from the Rockefeller Foundation Pandemic Prevention Institute. And the long story short, like I said, you can go online and look for a COVID risk calculator that would maybe make you feel more comfortable about the current place that you have to gather or attend, right? So, all right. And you know, I was doing a lot of talking about mental health the last 3 years, but of course, after my son passed in October from mental health illness, it's been near and dear to my heart. And of course, this time of year, you're going to get a lot of these, but if you'll remember around Thanksgiving, I had a gratitude activities, and the implication was really that we should be doing gratitude activities all year, mindfulness all year. It's not something we just do at Thanksgiving and maybe Christmas, right? We need to be practicing that all year. So this one caught my eye, 22 ways to uplift yourself and others in 2022. So finding ways to reach out and connect can help us through troubled times. And let's see, I don't want to take too much time because as always, time is not our friend on this show. It goes by very fast. So Show grace. And this is a cute example. When my son was little, I'd get impatient with perhaps a fellow driver or a non-helpful store clerk. And my son would say, Mommy, maybe they're just having a bad day, which of course we all have. And for which, fingers crossed, someone will show us some grace too. So, and I've seen that. You've heard me talk about the fact that people seem to be more on edge, that we're having to de-escalate. We're having to learn how to de-escalate better. So show grace whenever you can. Share a sunset. Oh my gosh, I've become a master at this, living at the lake. And lately the sunsets have been to die for. And so I did exactly what this says, share a sunset. Sometimes I'm walking and I happen to catch the sunset, and I will send it out to loved ones and say, join me in this moment. This is right? It's a mindfulness moment that I can share. Here's an interesting one. Make your bed. An early morning accomplishment starts your day and make you more open to doing something for someone else. Okay? Just making your bed might make you show more grace to other people. Okay. Set an intention. My morning mantra used to be, please let me be nice. Please don't let me do anything dumb. And the author has added another one. Please let me make every moment in someone's life a little better today. Wouldn't that be nice if we all worked at trying to do that for each other? Even though I usually have no clue whether I ever actually do, this worthwhile goal keeps me plugging on. Write something on paper with a pen, placed in an envelope and affixed with a stamp. And whether you're expressing condolences, thanks for a tangible gift, or kindness shown, or congratulations on a deed well done, a real life note means more than a text or a Facebook comment ever could. Reach out. When my gym closed during the pandemic, I got out of my spin class habit. When the gym reopened, I couldn't muster the oomph to make it back until my spin class friend, Carolyn, sent me a text and saying she missed me. And back I went. I've stayed, all because she reached out and got in touch with me. The next one is the easiest one of all. Just smile. Oh, goodness. Right? Just smile. That nobody can misinterpret that message, right? Mourn. Ugh. Losses happen and you loved enough to hurt. I'm doing that. Rejoice. And luckily I do have that personality quirk where I can rejoice in those little minutes and moments of, walking around the lake, and here come the deer that I haven't seen in a few days. And they recognize my voice because I talk to them. And so they will actually stop when I talk to them, they'll stop, and they don't let me get super close, but, and then my dog, if I get too close, will scare them off. And then I get to watch the little white tails as they bound off. And that's a cool sort of moment too. But you need to take those reflection moments, those mindfulness moments, and, bring them into your heart. Get all nature dizzy. Oh man, I'm already there, right? When my yoga instructor took a few of us on a hike to the Heard Natural Science Museum and Wildlife Sanctuary in McKinney, we were practically elbowing each other the entire time as we excitedly pointed out colorful birds, butterflies, and flowers. So, and I do that, like I said, on my walks. I will share those sometimes on Facebook. I will share the serenity of it or the beauty of it, because some people actually enjoy with me. They do. And sometimes it actually motivates them to come out and visit, which is nice too. Here's a good one. Fail to get discouraged. Fail to get discouraged. So remember earlier in the show, I talked about the young lady who was saying if her college goes back to online, that she's going to quit. She's only got a year left. She can't quit, right? But that's how she feels. And so you need to work it. Let's see, this comes from All People, an ant farm expert being interviewed on NPR. If you watch ants closely, a lot of what they do just doesn't work, she tells This American Life reporter, who is disheartened because the ants in his and his children's ant farm keep dying. I mean, if they were easily discouraged, we'd never get anywhere. Right? And because my time is up, I won't go through all of them today, but let me do one more. Channel wonder. My sweet 91-year-old mom is queen of what my siblings and I call over marveling, but secretly we're all tickled that she finds such delight in a sky without clouds or one filled with stars, at the tiniest plant growing from a sidewalk crack, at a bowl of soup she swears is the best she's ever eaten. And so again, all of those little joys that you work at making sure you find. That's we need to all be working at that so that we're not overcome by the tumultuousness that is our world right now. As always, thank you for, in this case, waiting on me. There's some of you have reached out and said, hey, where are you? Where you been? And so I did go to Kentucky with hubby to visit my daughter and husband and their 3 kids. And it did not snow this time. It was actually very nice. We actually had some days in the 60s. Last year when we went, it snowed on Christmas Day. But again, that was a very healing way of being able to enjoy the holidays and think about something else and you know, and mourn a little bit with my daughter about the loss of her brother. So again, thank you, everyone. You have a great week, and we'll see you again next time.